Hello friends, welcome to episode 176 of the Noclip Crewcast. How you all doing? We have a bounty. We have foraged in the wilds and we have returned, all four of us this week, with delicious fruits from Mother Earth, from the video game mother herself. Some of us have collected some of the fruits that the other ones have, and some of us have collected completely unique fruits. We're going to talk about a whole bunch of games. I'm just going to say them right from the top so you know what we're going to talk about. We're going to talk about Animal Well. We're going to talk about Little Kitty Big City, Crow Country, which is presumably the region next to Little Kitty Big City, Fabledom, which is where they all live, Braid Anniversary Edition, which doesn't fit into this, and Fire Pro Wrestling World, which absolutely doesn't either. Lots of stuff to talk about, and lots of people to talk about them, including a returning member of the Noclip Crewcast, Jesse Guarascia. Welcome back to the show.
Woo! Happy to be here. Excited to talk about kitties and crows and everything. I've got my big basket of strawberries. That's what I collected while I was out foraging this afternoon.
Did you get real? Wait, is this real strawberries or are these made up strawberries? Because they don't fit into the idiom that I came up with. Why are you talking about strawberries? It's video games.
But it's fruits. You were talking about the foraged fruits.
That's true.
There's eggs, I guess, would be the thing, because I'm going to talk about Animal Well. So I guess I got eggs, video game eggs.
That'd be shocking.
Oh, yeah,
Imagine you found a bushel and it had eggs. Frank, what's the best way to serve eggs?
Scrambled.
Anything else? You gonna add some salt?
No, whatever.
Shells in, shells out.
Just squeeze it and eat it all raw with the shell.
Do you like the Gordon Ramsay scrambled? The kind of wet scrambled eggs? Is that the go-to, or you like them a little drier?
I don't know. I have no preference of the food. I'll eat anything. I don't care.
That's fair.
I've experienced that the American scrambled egg is the dry. Back home, scrambled egg is a little bit damp. You know what I mean?
That's like the restaurant style here. Like if you go get eggs out. Let me put on my monocle really quick. If you're at a nice restaurant, you might get some wet eggs.
Whereas you guys are eating like Holiday Inn buffet eggs. Is that like, the powdered eggs you get first thing in the morning when you crawl out of your $80 hotel room?
Grab some fucking eggs out of a bird's nest that's above your hovel and just toss them in the pan, dry them out real nice.
Terrific. Jeremy Jane, welcome back. What is your favorite bird?
My favorite bird?
Yeah. Sophie's choice. Pelicans are going to be pissed, man.
Probably the quail. I love a quail.
Quail.
They're so cute.
Oh, I thought you were going to say, because you can be, I've eaten quail. Eggs.
I used to eat a lot of quail. In fact,
I
used to eat this is a very short but weird story. Back in the day, pre-Noclip, I had a business partner that I made documentaries with, and to celebrate a gig well done, we would go to this place in Oakland that has like live birds, and you can pick weird like guinea fowl and quail, and they give them to you, and it's like fresh bird. And the reason I became a vegetarian is because they kill it in front of you, and I was so fucking traumatized by it.
What? This is like the lobster thing, but with a fucking bird?
Yeah. I mean, it was awesome until the time they didn't take it in the back to prepare it, and I was like, "This is horrible. I can never eat animals again."
Were you sitting at like a big wooden table and they just slammed the bird down and chopped its head off, or what was?
No, I would describe the vibe as like Silent Hill Doctor's Room is kind of the vibe of this place.
Jesus Christ.
Grimy, no lights.
Hey, listen, if you're in Jingletown in Oakland and you want some fresh meat,
it was in Jingletown?
It was in Jingletown, baby.
Wow. That's I don't know what I don't know why were you expect nothing about this ends like this is supposed to be an act of celebration, and you're going to a fucking
we wanted to have a nice
restaurant
meal
in Jingletown.
Okay. Listen, it was my business partner's idea, number one. Number two, the business was dissolved because he stole from me, so maybe he wasn't a very trustworthy advisor on where to get birds from.
That's because he invested all of your money in this fucking bird murder restaurant.
He had to steal from me because he was really deep into the bird people.
I wonder what it was called, like the Aviary or something.
I'm gonna
really-
find it, and maybe we'll say the name.
I bet there's more than one person who's had like a traumatic childhood. I mean, you had a traumatic adult experience there, but like, imagine like bringing your kid or something, and they're just like, "All right, oh, I want the parrot, mommy." What was the weirdest bird they were selling there? Was it all quails? I can't believe this is real. Sounds completely insane. This sounds like something you'd like see in a fucking wet market in a far and distant land. I can't, Oakland's fucking messed up, man. But I didn't think this was within the realm.
Oakland contains multitudes. Oakland is at times another nation. It was just they had like quail, guinea fowl was good. That was the one that I saw die. That was the sad one. That's why I can't eat birds anymore.
You can't eat guinea fowl.
That's why
I can't eat guinea fowl anymore. It was just like a wall of weird fucking birds. They had like everything. They had like chickens and stuff.
they'd serve you a toucan in the beak. They just grind it up and put it in there, hand it to you.
Let me see if I can
Like a
find this
fucking
place.
clam chowder bowl. They just
Okay,
like.
I think I actually found it. We could revisit this at the end of the. This feels like a kind of a horrible way to open a podcast. Should we revisit this
It's
at the end?
too
and we
late
can read
now.
off the menu?
It's far too
Okay.
late. We are
Okay,
deep.
all right.
The battle pass holders can wait. We need to figure this out.
Okay, I believe if I'm not mistaken, it was. Am I gonna get sued if I say the name of this?
It's a
place?
public. It's a
right.
business. It's
Okay, I
You're not
believe it
defaming
was,
them. It's what they do.
I
Yeah.
believe it was SABA Live Poultry.
okay. That's fine. Like they are literally. It says it on the tin. Like
Yeah.
that is not. They're not.
If you buy 5 chickens, you get 1 free.
So the chickens, I'm not, and maybe this is showing my own sort of ignorance and biases, but like the chickens, I'm like, yeah, sure, chickens. Yeah, you eat a chicken. Chickens are largely bred for eggs and for their meat. So I'm not super. Maybe do you think it's a chicken restaurant and you sort of accidentally went like sort of animal style off menu? You saw
No,
they were
no.
like,
You
this guy
go-
wants to eat one of the fucking pigeons. What's wrong with this guy?
Go to the staff chat right now, and you'll see how wrong you are
Is this on our Discord?
No.
in our Discord.
Okay. What Jesse, describe what you're seeing because I haven't seen it.
It's like it's a menu with all these different animals, most of them birds with prices on them and buy 5 get 1 free. And then there's just a rabbit as one of the options. If you want some, you know what? I do appreciate this place that clearly is the closest thing you can get to a wet market in America, having like compulsory CDC guidelines for COVID right next to this sign that's like, do you want freshly cut up
Dude,
bird?
they have to, though. They don't want COVID-20 popping out of SABA Live Poultry, man. There's a lot of loose birds in here.
That's a good point, man. What started it? Well, have you ever heard of SABA Live Poultry? And it's like a documentary on Netflix. They're zooming in on you buying a chicken.
It's me buying a guinea hen.
You're like, I didn't know.
God. Rabbit. The
Pigeon as well on the menu.
pigeon. I see
It's a
pigeon.
pheasant. That's
my
nice.
hatful boyfriend fandom is feeling a deep amounts of pain right now.
Why are they using such a cute picture of the small duck? He's like quacking. He's
They're
really
like,
happy.
They look like Valentine's Day cards. They're like in a nice field of grass.
Big, what's that middle one? Big Mercy duck? Big
I can't. Oh, Muscovy.
Muscovy. And the
Okay.
one to the left of that, choker? Is that a name of a bird?
That's Chucker.
Chucker. Small duck.
No, not
Yeah,
Chucker. No.
That's they're like
Wow.
the Chucker partridge.
They should have
This is
names for
literally
all
just
the
like
chickens.
a picture of like a poster on the wall with cute pictures of animals, of specifically birds, and for some reason one single rabbit. How much is
Yeah.
that? $50 for a rabbit?
For a
Oh,
large
there's different
rabbit.
sizes for the rabbits. Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh man. All right,
Let's
well
have
I
that
know where
little
we're going
rabbit.
for the Christmas dinner this year, lads.
I'm gonna become a vegan if you take me there again.
Jesus, did they fucking kill the rabbit in front of you? Did they like bring out a little hutch and hand you like a club?
I mean, they have a back room, but these dudes are pros. They'll kill anything you want.
Pheasant? Pheasants are big, man.
People.
Yeah,
Yeah.
you could bring a person that you don't like there.
They're like, we're out of pigeons. Oh, just give me 5 minutes, and somebody runs outside with a net.
I don't mean to defame SABA Live Poultry, by the way. They have 3.5 stars on Yelp. You know, it's a respectable amount of stars.
What are
They're
the one
getting
stars
minus
say?
one just based on their business model immediately, right? Like, so
Sure.
So they're operating at probably a ceiling of 4. Let's be
It's
honest.
hard to be 5 stars when you're bloodletting animals in the front of shop.
Can you buy the blood?
I'm 100% sure you can buy the blood.
Can you get like a pick and mix? Did you guys have pick and mix over
No, what's
here?
up?
It's when you it sounds like a real pre-COVID thing. It's a thing where you get like you go into a sweet shop and you get like a little bag and then you just put whatever you want in it, like out of like,
yeah.
and then you
yeah,
weigh
yeah.
it at the end. That type of
Yeah,
thing.
there's like a
Are you
bunch
asking
of like,
if there's like surprise bags for the animal entrails? Can
Yeah.
you like go in and be like, I want some of the throw the kidneys in here. Give me some bird kidney.
fun for
Exactly.
the kids.
Put them in
Like
the
a-
bag.
like a cocktail or like a what's it called? What do you call those Japanese little things? The little plastic balls. You open them
No,
up.
the
Oh,
ramen.
gotcha.
Yeah,
Like a
like a gotcha
gachapon?
thing.
Oh, okay.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, one of those. That'd be fun.
I want to put a quarter in it, you spin it. What's gonna come out?
Little
Yeah.
Which
rabbit
entrail's
pancreas.
gonna?
Yeah, you know,
Some fun.
some awful.
Yeah, you should call them and suggest that.
Did I ever tell you about the time Dennis Walsh, a friend of Noclip, who's done a bunch of game capture for us and stuff over the years? He had this idea to we used to go on these like cooking tangents. He's done a bunch, he's brewed his own beer, he's done all these bits and bobs. And for some reason he was doing something and he needed a bunch of fat for it. And it was and he had this idea. He was like, it was when we were living in Ireland and where everyone was broke, and he was like, to get this like rendered fat, it's like really expensive. So he went to the English market in Cork where we were living, and he asked the butcher, and he was like, yeah, fat's like, it's hard to come by, it's hard to get that much. He was like, you could always make your own fat. He was like, what do you mean? He was like, you just get a bunch of like fat from one of us. Like, we throw out a bunch of fat, just take some of that fat, go home, boil it. And you can then you get it like renders down and you get like cooking fats. And he's like, then at that stage I would have been like, I'm good. Dennis is a different beast. Dennis was like, fucking absolutely. When should I come back? He's like, come back at the end of the day. Dennis comes back. This guy hands him like this fucking huge like bag thing just full of fat. Puts it in his car, brings it home, boils this fat. I swear to God, Dennis's house smelled of fat for about a year. It was just horrific. First of all, it does not boil quickly. He had to boil it. Like, I don't think he ever got it rendered down. He was boiling it for like the weekend. He was like the oven was on for like all night. Him rendering fat in his fucking apartment in Cork, and it smelled so bad. I went to visit, see how it was going, and I had to leave. It was terrible.
What the fuck was he making? Like soap?
I don't. Maybe he was making explosives. Now that you mentioned,
I was gonna say I've seen Fight Club. I know what you do with that much fat.
I have to ask.
Yeah,
him.
was he blowing up like a corporate building? Him and his like imaginary best friend who ran a Fight Club?
I'll have to ask him. Further research required. Who I don't have to ask is the folks at patreon.com/noclip who have been already helping us out. All of our incredible members, all our incredible free members too. Patreon finally did it. They added the ability to post things to both paid and free members at the same time. I'm so happy. Woo. This was the whole point. I wanted to have some cool content that we could give basically to all of our community, regardless of if they are patrons or not paying patrons. A big part of this is we have a lot of people who have been patrons to us for years and years and years. And then obviously at a certain point they go, all right, man, I've done my part. And then unfortunately we have to say like, bye-bye to them. You know what I mean? They don't get to like watch the patron show, even though they've been a patron for like 5 years. So there's having a mechanism that basically allows them to sort of like just go to the bench, maybe for a while, maybe forever, I don't know, but just like sit out a couple of plays and us to still have them as part of the community. That's something I've been dying for and asking Patreon to do for years and years, ever since they first started talking about free membership. So they just added it. I'm super, super excited. So we're going to have a whole new refit of the tiers and a bunch of stuff, which we're going to announce during the summertime. What we'll be saying, though, is probably definitely our incredible Battle Pass holders: Eamon Slattery, Harry Flanagan, Battle Royale Games, Arno, Richard Matheson, James Brown. Is not one of our patrons. Mark Rojas, Ryan Cobb, Tucker Morgan, Crimson Cyclist, Sven Huster, Pez, Uint Nate, I said it right this week, Tim Robinson, Forrest Pruitt, Jonathan Kremen, Eric Hamilton Schneider, Camerley, Zachary Snader, Alex Sharp, Alex Goucher, George Dakotas, Jacob Godserve, Tohir Tiliev, and of course, Ryson. Thank you all so much for giving us so much money a month, which we need because of all of the video games we had to buy this month to play and talk about. Okay, let's do this in order of, I guess, the games that most of us have played. Let's start with the one which I had played a bunch of and then totally forgot that the embargo would have dropped by the time last week's podcast came out. This, of course, is Animal Well, a game that I was talking about. Was it? I was in the shower earlier trying to remember. Was it 2 summers ago that we did that Summer Game Fest video?
I think so.
I
That
think
sounds
it
right.
might
have
have
been.
been.
Yeah.
I don't think it was last year. When I went to Keely's Summer Games Fest, which Frank will be going to this year. If you see Frank at Keely Fest, make sure to go up and say hey to him. He'll be filming some stuff, playing some games. But this was a game that I saw at that. It was my standout. It was my pick of the show. It subsequently got picked up by Big Mode Games. Sorry, I don't know why I made it singular there. Donkey and Leah's publishing arm, which I had some concerns about when it was initially announced. The game was something that I had a sort of a beta code thing that they kept updating for a while, so I'd played a lot of it over the past year or so. And then it eventually came out 1.0 at the end of last week. It has gotten a bunch of really great reviews. People seem to be really into it. Some people have bounced off of it, but I'm excited to hear what you guys have to say about it. Jeremy, you've completed it, so let's go to you first of all. What have you made of Animal Well? First of all, what type of game is it, and how would you describe it? And, what'd you make of it?
It is a pixel art Metroidvania platformer. You're not doing combat. You're a little, it's like a little blob. You're like a little blob man, I would say.
Like a little blob, yeah. I don't know what you are.
You're in what appears to be some sort of well full of animals. I love this game. I think this is my favorite Metroidvania since Hollow Knight, which is saying a lot because I love Hollow Knight. I'm tempering the things I'll say because I think that one of the beautiful things about this game is the sense of discovery. I think that the thing that Animal Well does the best is take things that seem like things video games have been doing for 30 years very competently. So you're like, well, what new ground could there be to explore in this? Like, I've played Metroidvanias, I've played platformers.
Had you played a 2D puzzle platformy type game before, Jeremy?
I think this is the first one that's ever
with
existed.
unlocks and items that allow you to enter new areas and things like that.
This is a new genre you're defining. Careful.
It may shock some of our listeners to hear these things. It's playing the hits in some sense, but in another more important sense, I think what Animal Well does so well. I was trying not to. I couldn't not. Is it like everything in it? This is not spoilery, but this is the closest I'll come to like alluding to why this game is so brilliant. It takes everything in Animal Well has like an exoteric purpose, and then you're like, oh, okay, that's what that does. And then you play the game for 3 more hours, and something accidental happens where you're like, holy shit, there's like a hidden dimension to this thing that I've been using the normal way for 3 hours. And it just like, it just constantly pulls this trick where you're having like a repeated sense of discovery about things that you thought you understood. And it's unbelievably brilliant.
Jesse, what have you made of it? How far are you into it yourself?
Yeah, I finished it on
long.
It's not long. Yeah, it's like 6-8 hours, something like that. Yeah, I think it took me about 9 or 10, and I finished with 42 of the eggs or something like that. There's collectibles in the games. They're called eggs. It's what you get from the chest, which I always found funny because playing, what was it, Prince of Persia: The Lost Crown earlier this year, another Metroidvania, but more action-focused. The reward at the end of completing long challenges was like, you get a shirt. Like, you get a new outfit. And this kind of has the same feeling where after you complete these long puzzle challenges or these challenging puzzles that require you to think in new and different ways, you get like egg. You get like frost egg. That. It's kind of nice. No, I really, really like Animal Well as well. I did it too. It's got this thing, and I think, Jeremy, you're right in saying that it's a really good Metroidvania because I think it captures what the Metroid part of that is. Like, I feel like when I'm playing Metroidvanias now, they lean a lot more combat and a lot more platforming, a lot more on the Vania side of things, which isn't a knock. I enjoy that aspect of it. But what Metroid, the original 3, Metroid Super Metroid and whatever the third one was. Fusion? No, that's the Game Boy one. It doesn't matter.
Wipeout Fusion,
Metroid
yeah,
2.
it's great Metroid.
Yeah, Wipeout Fusion. Yeah, that's right. Fusion Frenzy.
Fusion-
No, those games had a sense of stranger in a strange land, or like feeling like you don't know what's going on in the world. There aren't enough Metroidvanias that feel that way. They feel mechanically contemporary, so you can kind of always tell what's going on, and then also the design of the world is fairly easy to parse. It doesn't really feel like you're learning anything new when you play them, like from a world perspective. Like there's world building, but it's like a guy lives in a house and he's mean, or he's like a king in the castle and he doesn't like the people who are poor. It's like, yeah, I get it. I've read a story before. But playing Animal Well and earlier this year Ultros, those two games I feel like are really embracing the alien nature and the Metroid part of Metroidvania more and more than most of the other games using that branding. And it's been really fun to see. I'm excited to play more Animal Well, because even though, we finished it, there's a lot to that game. It's not just like you hit the credits and the game's over. There's a lot of stuff going on.
There is so much stuff that we can't talk about this game, that I feel like that may be the most interesting thing about this game, weirdly enough, because
what I want to talk about, I think, is the, sort of the killer of this whole thing, which is just the graphics, the sound, the vibe, the weirdness of this entire world. The game obviously has it's a 2D platformer, and boy oh boy is it hard. I mean, we celebrate games like Ultros because they look completely insane. I don't know what that game is. It's a cross between a Futurama episode with Slurm in it, multiplied by some crazy other European artist or something. And then Blasphemous, for instance, which is very much in the sort of contemporary or old style Spanish painterly look to it as well. Lots of big dark black tones in it. And then Animal Well is just it's neon for sure. It's the base color is darkness again, and then it's just blues and greens, like a sort of a Nightmare Before Christmas style Halloween palette to the whole thing. But the tone of it, the sound design is incredible. It feels very kinetic, because the game's graphics are very basic, but the physics that are happening are not. So the lighting is all interesting and dynamic. There's lots of little physics objects swaying. There's sounds of lots of animals in the background. On the parallax, you can see stuff going on. It just feels like it's crawling a little bit, which I really think is cool. And then it has these you mentioned it, Jeremy, the sort of objects, objects that feel that in a world that felt like it was a more realistic place, because the place in Animal Well feels like something out of a fever dream. It doesn't feel like an alien planet necessarily, or it feels like an imagined place almost. So then when you're saving your save game on a telephone, and there's this weird Twin Peaks sort of bed music playing in the background when you're there, it's I don't know what, it's just, again, it's that thing I keep coming back to as a 38-year-old gamer. Anything that's fresh, that makes me feel, I've not seen this shit before, I am just on it immediately. And I think I really like that about Animal Well.
Yeah, the attention to detail in it. Because shout out to Billy Basso, who made this game.
Yes,
I specifically want to say his name because this is not the fault of Donkey at all, but one of the outcomes of this being published by a very popular personality figure on the internet is that if you go to...
Dude, he made the game.
If you go to any comment section, if you go to the Steam reviews, if you go anywhere, you will see 90, or I would say 2/3 of the comments will be, this game is like Halo 2 meets Halo 3, which is, I believe, a Donkey joke. Or you'll see just references to Donkey, or wow, I'm so glad that Donkey's game came out good. And it's cool because I'm glad that Animal Well gets the boost that it so much deserves. But Billy Basso, learn the man's name, people.
Yeah.
Billy Basso made this fucking game.
He is an ex-NetherRealm dude.
Oh, so, cool.
Yeah, I interviewed, because he's based in the Chicago area. I interviewed him, or I talked to him back then and asked him, and he's like a guy who worked at a big studio and then left and went to start his own thing. And yeah, like you said, I don't know if he did everything, like the music maybe, but basically the game is a one-person show.
He did the music as well.
Wow.
He, in fact, in the video that they did to promote it, that Donkey put out on his channel, in the background of Billy's shot, I believe, is a Korg MS-20, which is a very cool synthesizer. So I believe in that video they talk about how he did like literally everything, and it's just like the attention to detail shows in so many little things too, like the haptics and the controller vibration.
Yeah.
There's like specific vibration signatures for different actions that all feel distinct and stuff. Just things that like, you don't even like consciously pay attention to, but they make a difference on like a subconscious level. Things like feel haptically different, and it just makes.
I'm
the
playing on
experience feel
Steam
deeper.
Deck, so I don't know if I actually got any of that. Did
Oh,
I?
interesting.
I don't
Probably
know.
not.
Yeah. All right. Gotta check
But
that out.
yeah, the only other thing I want to say is that I went pretty deep into the mysteries and decided that I had enough, and was like, I just want to see how deep the rabbit hole goes, and just spoiled myself. And I think this game has maybe the most secrets, the deepest secrets of any video game ever made, potentially. I know that's a bold statement, but holy shit, that's all I want to say.
Tunic wasn't that long ago, and I've also looked into all this stuff. I agree.
Okay.
This is pretty deep.
Okay,
goes
Tunic and
deep,
Animal
man.
Well. Okay, all right.
I'd say there so far as far as the rabbit hole,
the rabbit hell.
rabbit hole.
That was that's
goes.
that restaurant. That's what they should call that.
That's what they should have
restaurant,
called it. SABA Rabbit Hell. They would have made way more money. It would have been much more obvious.
Okay,
the
I need to
Tunic's
revisit
is-
Tunic. I haven't spoiled
Brother.
myself on how deep Tunic goes, so that may be another potential candidate. But,
These are sort
it's-
of the type of mysteries that like not one player, but rather all players are going to have
Yes.
to contribute. Yeah, to uncover. Okay, yeah. I think my last point out, and I know like we sound like a broken record trying to talk about these games and not spoil them like INDIKA last week. There's always something, right? But I'm with you guys. Like I feel like you kind of don't want to explain too much of this game away. What I do like though is that the just almost because of the sort of alien nature of the world, and I don't mean that in an extraterrestrial way, just in a bizarre, dreamlike vibe of this strange little place. That it allows them to be super esoteric with the like tools you get, like the tools you get to, this isn't like a Metroidvania where like you get the red key or you get like the double jump. Like the double jump in this game is a weird concept.
Yeah.
The gun in this game is its own weird concept. And then to Jeremy's point, like the ways in which they're used are often, there's often ways of using them that you never thought of. And the game, does a great job of basically nudging you in a direction of like, no, try this shit. Or like accidentally making you do something with one of those tools that then you're like, oh, what? I can do that with this thing? And it's just so confident. Like it's such a weird game, but it's so confident in its design. And yeah, it's a weird, special little thing.
the feeling it gave me was I felt like I was playing Link to the Past again for the first time in a weird way. I feel like as much as this is a Metroidvania, I feel like spiritually this is like an old school Zelda game. Yeah, I don't know. Just the feeling of discovery, the feeling of new tools, like figuring out what new tools do and kind of exploring them. I don't know. I kept feeling like I was playing like Link to the Past for some reason. It just kept popping into my head.
Any final thoughts on Animal Well? Any questions, Frank?
No, yeah, I played maybe an hour of it, and I was happy because anytime I hear like puzzle games, I'm like, I don't know, I don't have the patience for it. I don't want to, but like I feel like I was making steady progression, and then like any good Metroidvania, like they keep feeding you new items that completely like reshape. Like, oh wait, okay, now I can go back and do this thing. Like, like one item I got, it was so funny, and I just kept wanting to using it everywhere to see what would happen with it. And I was like, all right, this is cute, and the aesthetic of it is so cool. I mean, it's all like blue and purple. And it's very Euphoria, so it's cool. So yeah, I'm playing it on PS5. It does have the haptic feedback, like which feels so good. And it's very it's very chill to play. So I really like it. But yeah, I was intimidated. Like, is this going to be too obtuse? But so far it's been steady, and it's got a map, so you can see which corners has it, and then like also
You
Metroidvania.
can mark stuff too. It's great.
I haven't done the. Oh man, okay, I should do that too. And then it also has
You're
like,
gonna need to at a certain stage.
yeah.
It gets
So-
pretty unwieldy. Yes, it's available on PlayStation 5, PC, and Switch, I believe, as well. It's available right now on Steam for $25. It's got a sale on at the moment for the next couple of days, for next week, actually, with just 10% off. Yeah, I've been playing it on Steam Deck, and it's a great little Steam Deck nighttime game. It's a real. It's a weirdly cozy game considering it is like cerebral and challenging. Like it's not a
And a little scary. It's a little scary at times.
Yeah, so yeah, it is. Yeah, it's freaky.
It's a little spooky.
Yeah. I don't like those fucking iguanas, man. That tongue's doing too much. Not a fan. A game that is very cuddly though, which you've been playing, Frank, is Little Kitty Big Shitty. This one came out last week from Double Dagger Studios. It's out on basically everything. Yes, GeForce Now players, you can also enjoy Little Kitty Big City. How much of this have you played, Frank Howley?
So I beat it, but I did the main objective, but there's still like, it feels like 50% of the game to still explore and play. So I would say maybe 5 to 6 hours of it.
Okay.
Yeah, I am very surprised. I didn't know anything about it, but it was on Game Pass. I was like, sure, I'll install this.
Beautiful.
And it's basically Untitled Goose Game, but you're a cat. But the thing that sells me, you're in a Japanese city. It's straight up like Japan. And I'm like, oh my god! So you have like the Family Mart or whatever the knockoff like convenience stores. There's salarymen walking around that you can trip over. Yeah, the premise of the game is you're a cat. You're knocked out of your high-rise apartment building. You fall down, and you just have to explore and get back. And it feels like one giant Tony Hawk level, and you're just a cat skating around.
Yeah.
Like there's objectives that's like find
like Underground though.
Yes, Tony Hawk Underground. Yeah. No, exactly. You get you meet like different animals. Like you meet a duck, and it's like there's text bubbles, but there's no like Animal Crossing like. But like that's what I imagine they all sound like. You meet a duck, and it's like, oh, I've lost my 4 ducklings. Go find my 4 ducklings, and I'll teach you how. I'll give you a fish that will let you climb higher or whatever. And so like you just wander around, and one mission is like. There's a duckling playing a Street Fighter arcade cabinet, but it's all like in the arcade cabinet. All the Street Fighter characters are like ducks that you can see. Like there's little like sight gags like that, and the duckling's like, I'm not leaving until this like video ends. But it's like the attract mode on the arcade machine. So as the cat, you have to find and like unplug the arcade machine. So you're just a cat causing chaos. You can knock pots off buildings. You can like mess up a painter's stuff. You trip people over. Like. It's really gentle and charming, and it's one of those things like it also kind of feels like you're playing Super Mario Odyssey, where you can just walk around and oh shoot, that is an objective or little secret objectives, things to collect, and it's just a giant playground or sandbox, and that's why I'm like I beat it, but the in game has like an objective lock, and there's so many little things to do and collect, and it's really charming, and I'm totally surprised by it.
Yeah, I've played maybe 2 hours of this with my daughter. It's a real like sit down with your kid and play sort of game. She's telling me what to do. Very much in the wholesome games thing. Like to me, it's not a kid's game because the objectives are kind of probably a little bit too hard for a kid. Maybe, I don't know. Or there's a lot of like precision platforming in it because you're a cat trying to climb high and get up high and jump high and. Sort of get access to certain stuff that way, and you're doing a lot of like light objectives, like collect 25 shiny things for the pigeon, or one of the cats wants you to knock over a bunch of jam jars that are in this lady's shop. You have to climb up top, and literally like left trigger and right trigger are SWAT in both directions. So you're doing a lot of like the cat just kind of going meh and knocking something off, and then it like smashes and people go crazy. Yeah, it's like, to me, it feels like a good Game Pass game, probably. It's $25, same thing, 10% off at the moment until May 23rd. I guess that's the way you just do things on Steam these days. It feels like, it feels, what's the word? I'm trying not to be disparaging here because I think it's in keeping with the vibe of the game. It's not like, the production values are appropriate. The characters don't speak. They don't really have faces either, which I guess cats probably don't even recognize. I don't know if they recognize faces or whatever, but that maybe that is part of it. The lighting in it is pretty sort of lo-fi, and the gameplay and the controls are sort of feel that way as well. It feels a little bit of a 3D platformer throwback kind of thing to it. But yeah, it's very sweet and charming, and yeah, I don't know. It's, for some reason, I get vibes of like maybe it's the setting or the art style, but like Katamari and stuff. It kind of gives me a little bit of a feeling of just like fucking around and having fun and exploring this world. They have like lots of mini objectives, like there's like soccer goals around and balls that you have to hit into them and you'll get extra prizes. It's very self-aware and funny, and you know the run button is zoomies, you know, because you're just a little kitten who gets too much energy or whatever. Yeah, I don't have all that much else to say about it. You guys got any questions for us?
How does it compare to Stray, another
I
cat
was
game
gonna
that
ask
I've
that.
not played?
Yeah. I bounced off Stray. What about you, Frank?
Yeah, Stray was like too moody and like a bummer. I was like,
Yeah.
this sucks. I mean, like again, it's a high production value. I know people liked it, but I was like, I want to play as a cat. I don't know. It was just like a bummer. But I didn't play much of Stray. I feel like Stray was also pretty hyper linear. I know like there was side quests you could talk to. It was like, no, you have to go here, go here. Little Kitty Big City is just go wherever. It's fine. Like you are gated a little bit. But then, like, you do a few objectives, and then you really do have a, like, Zelda stamina meter as you're climbing. Yeah. You learn how to climb vines is, like, the first gate that gets you after the tutorial zone. And then you hunt down, like, 4 or 5 fish, like, pieces of fish, and then each one you eat, you can climb higher and higher so you can explore. But, yeah, no, you can go any direction. It really doesn't matter. That's why I was, like, when I beat the game, it was like, oh, no, I'm not done with this. What the hell? Like, whereas Stray, it's like, no, you have to talk to this robot here and then go across here, and it was just... But now, after playing Little Kitty Big City, maybe I do want to go back to Stray. But for whatever reason, like, because of how unserious this game was, I liked it more than Stray.
Yeah, I'm with Frank. There was something about the linear nature of Stray, and maybe it was because it was the opening. I don't think I got past the first 2 hours in Stray, but maybe it was more linear then because it was more story focused or whatever. But they're pretty light on the story on this one. It's very much just go fuck around. And that's why I get Frank's sort of Tony Hawk thing and me saying it was more like Underground feels right, because it's one of those levels where it's like, oh, there's a bunch of like, you just get plonked down in the level and you have to go explore in every direction. And that's left, right, up and down as well, because you're doing so much traversal in this thing. And that just feels more, I don't know, enjoyable and free and, you know, expressive than single player platforming. You know what I mean? It's not something that, and I didn't care about this. I don't care about story in a lot of these. I don't give a shit about the story in a cat game, man. It's a fucking cat. It's a cat. My cat died 2 months ago. That's the fucking story. That's the real story. Nothing can be realer than that.
Yeah.
So
yeah, this does kind of seem like I don't know much about Stray, but as far as I can gather, Little Kitty Big City kind of seems like what people would want out of a cat game. Just on its face, it's like I feel like if someone was like, yeah, you play the game where you're like a cat in a city, I feel like this is what 99% of people would be like, oh, nice. And so it's like relaxing and cool, and there's like weird little emergent things to do.
I wonder, because like Stray is an incredibly successful game.
Yeah, no,
like
totally.
It's what I just looked on Steam. It has like 123,000 reviews.
Yeah,
it's overwhelmingly.
No,
positive.
Stray was very popular. I just imagine like when someone says like, oh, it's like a cat. You're like a little cat walking around in a big city. I feel like most people would immediately imagine Little Kitty Big City rather than.
Well, it's funny because there's a point where
like
Stray becomes that. Like Stray, once you get into the neon cities, I think this is where it kind of, like, you guys are right, it's very linear.
Right.
But I think it hits its stride. I enjoyed it, but I think it hits its stride when you get into the bigger areas that are more open and you do a lot of that cat stuff. Like, it is a lot of knock things over, this contextual moments. The platforming isn't as freeform as Little Kitty Big City. Like, it's contextual jumps, wait for the ledge to say X on it, and then press X to jump to the X marker. But yeah, it's a lot of like, I think the point in Stray that people tend to like it more are, when you get into the first big neon area, there's like another city you go to eventually, or like smaller, couple of blocks. And when you're in there and you get to explore and mess with stuff and solve puzzles and help people or not help people, the robots, I guess, it I don't know, it opens up, and I feel like you get what you guys are liking out of Little Kitty Big City, but it's not that bummer dystopia narrative that goes along with it that I feel like kind of hampers the mood, where it sounds like Little Kitty Big City is a lot more like fun and like, look, it's you mess with the arcade machine, knock the fruit over, instead of like, can you help overthrow this robot overlord who's controlled the whole world? Like
yeah, Jeremy's, I guess, I agree from the perspective that like Stray is a subversion, and Little Kitty Big City feels like if 10 years ago you had imagined what a cat game would look like.
Right,
it's probably that.
To be fair, if I was going to play a cat game, I'd probably go for Stray, because I'm a morose and macabre person.
And I don't know if I would have played this had it not been something I was like, oh, this is great for my kid
Yeah.
and me to knock around with. It's not setting the world on fire, but it's a good, wholesome, fun time. It's got the laughs. It's got good vibes to it. Little Kitty Big City. You're playing it on an Xbox. I played it on. Oh, I think I also played it on Xbox. I did Game Pass. I figured out it was on Game Pass.
Wait, can you customize your cat?
There's so much
yeah.
cat customization. God
Yeah?
damn it.
Oh,
God,
that's the one thing Stray was missing.
What's your
my opinion.
favorite? What's your favorite stupid little hat, Frank?
I think I landed on a ladybug hat. But yeah, basically, like you find different hats, and then you can also, there are gacha machines operated by crows, and you give crows shinies, and
Yeah.
they give you more little hats to put on. So I think you get like an apple, a frog hat, like there's so many ones I kept collecting, but I gotta go back. I'm gonna do like one more like play of it and do an achievement sweep on it. But yeah,
And my daughter wouldn't let me take the banana costume off. I'm just little cat banana walking around. From cats to cats is the enemy of cats. Crows. Crow Country came out also last week. Fucking last week, man. Last week was a real murderer's crow. Dad jokes of video games. This one is not a Metroidvania or a cat game. It is in fact, I don't know, what do we call these? Jeremy Jane games. It's imagine if somebody had made Final Fantasy VII, but it was set in Resident Evil. That's what I'm getting from the screenshots. I have not played Crow Country. I am ill-equipped to talk about it, but presumably our good friend Jeremy Jane is, because he completed it. What the fuck is Crow Country?
Yeah, Crow Country this is a game I've been following for a while. The developer posted screenshots of work in progress art assets for it maybe like 2+ years ago. And I was instantly stricken by exactly what you said, which is that it looks like it's taking kind of the like very like geometric primary kind of like blocks and circles shapes of people in Final Fantasy, like super low poly, and updating that look a little bit, but transposing it onto survival horror, which is, I don't know, it's a really good formula. So even that alone was what got me interested, but obviously a survival horror game is a very, tricky thing to pull off. It's a genre that has been done to death. There's a lot of people that have like moved on from the older style of survival horror, and now they prefer more kind of like Dead Space or like Alan Wake 2, kind of like the third person, the Gears of War of survival horror.
Gears of Horror.
Gears of Horror. So Crow Country it's interesting. It plays much more like an old Resident Evil, but thematically it kind of reminds me more of an old Silent Hill game, which it's kind of a beautiful marriage of the two anyway, because it kind of takes the things that I like from either franchise and their old installments and marries them together in this new form. But yeah, it's a survival horror game. It's kind of like an isometric perspective where you can rotate the camera, which is cool because since everything has this very like low poly, weird, like hyper geometric shape to it, it looks like it should be fixed camera. So being able to rotate the camera around the environments I don't know, it felt novel for the entire runtime of the game for me.
I guess because in games like Final Fantasy VII, I think a lot of those were pre-generated, rendered,
Exactly.
matte asset. They weren't
Right.
models that were being rendered. They were models that had been rendered and
Yeah.
placed onto the world.
Yeah, it like pulls off the pre-rendered look very well for not being pre-rendered, which is very cool. But it's so you're like your Agent Mara Forest. You pull up in your car. It's very light on story at the beginning, but as it goes on, I think the story was actually really good. And you're kind of like trying to solve this mystery at an old abandoned theme park called Crow Country, a crow-themed theme park with all of these kind of like sub-lands. There's like an aquatic themed thing, and there's all these different like fun theme park themes. And it's interesting because I thought it was going to be like a cutesy horror game. Just it has kind of a cutesy art style, and like the big crow mascot for Crow Country is kind of cute and stuff. There were some good scares in this game.
Cool.
It does get like, as much as the art style is kind of cutesy, it has some like fucked up looking monsters. It's thematically very dark, and yeah, I mean, there was a moment where something pops out of the vents in the first 20 minutes, and it got me good. So yeah, it's the thing that I think is most notable about this game. The thing that I think is worth talking about is that a lot of survival horror revival horror games of the last like 5 years or whatever, kind of take the genre and try to do something radically different with it. So like Homebody and Signalis are both games that bear a striking resemblance to old school survival horror, but they do something so radically different that you're like, oh wow, this is like a really new flavor of survival horror game. Crow Country to me feels like it could have come out in 1999, and like it feels like a game from that era. It obviously has like quality of life things that a new survival horror game should, but it feels so authentically of that era that I really appreciated that about it. It wasn't trying to be like, and look how different we are. Not that, I mean, I really do like that about Homebody and Signalis, but it was refreshing to have a game that's just like a PS1 survival horror game straight up.
Right. What does it do? Does it do anything? I've only watched videos of it and stuff, and obviously one aspect that does make it feel very modern is the fact that you can rotate the camera. Something else that I've seen is obviously there's combat in this game. How much is it like Resident Evil where you're like ammo scarcity, and then in terms of its modernness, it seems like there's sort of like you can use environmental stuff maybe to help in the combat as well.
Yeah. There's like power boxes and explosive barrels and stuff in the environment that you can shoot. So there's kind of like strategic decision making about when to use those and luring enough enemies close to them that they're worth using. As the game goes on, the game also adds more enemies. So it was an interesting thing where, like in Resident Evil Remake, if you kill zombies and you don't burn them, they come back as called, like, what are they called? Redheads or something? I can't remember. I haven't played.
Crimson Heads.
Crimson Heads. Thank you.
That's fucked up, man.
Yeah, redheads is. I believe they're called gingers.
First we had the you can't knock them out with prescription medication.
And exactly. That's why you have to burn their corpses because they can't be killed.
Oh no!
I'd like to apologize to
all of our redhead
listeners.
Anyway, Crow Country does like an interesting twist on that, where it's not about like burning the corpses of enemies you defeat, but it is about picking your battles in which environments you clean up, because as the game progresses, they add more and more enemies. So if you're not doing combat as the game goes on, it's like doing a run where you're like, oh shit, I'm really low on ammo, I better not fight anyone, but you haven't been cleaning enemies up. All of a sudden, you're running through like hordes of enemies. So that's like a fun, interesting twist on the survival horror kind of like difficulty ramp up that I really liked.
That's interesting. Yeah.
But the combat,
it doesn't run into the Resident Evil 1 problem of, okay, these zombies are too easy now. Here's some lizard men that can chop your head off in one go.
Yeah, exactly. It is very much like the Resident Evil style of combat though, where it's like you stand and plant and then you can aim like up and down, left and right. But it does have kind of like a little reticle that shows where like the ray cast from the gun is currently hitting. So at least it like indicates to, so because sometimes you play old survival horror games and it's like I can't fucking tell if I'm like I'm playing Silent Hill 3 right now, and sometimes I just like can't tell where my gun is pointed.
Yeah, this guy is so game dev pilled. Call it raycast instead of the laser.
Yeah, exactly. The laser sight.
It's getting technical, brother.
Yeah.
I also have to tell an aside. I in playing Silent Hill 3 recently, in all of the Silent Hill games, there's like the real world and then there's the other world, which is all like fucked up. There's like blood on the wall.
Pyramid Head.
In the beginning of Silent Hill 3, you're in one environment and then you go to the otherworld version of it, but the map for the otherworld version of it is the same map. So you get the map in the regular version and it carries over. I did not get the map. And so I had to play the first like 2 hours of Silent Hill 3 with no fucking map, which is, it was one of the most torturous experiences of my life. Anyone who's not played a Silent Hill game, basically you're constantly looking at the map because it tells you which doors you have opened, which ones you have not opened, and which rooms there are left to explore.
Oh my God. I had a similar experience with Animal Well, where when I started playing it again, I wasn't sure if it had retained my save game from the previous latest version I had played, and I got super confused because I played a bunch of it like a month. They sent out the keys for it ages ago, and then I picked it up again about a week and a half ago, and I could not remember if this is progress from when I played before or whether or not. And then I couldn't remember if I got in the map because I couldn't find the map. Wouldn't work. I was pressing all the buttons and the map wouldn't work. So then I was like, I think I remember where the map was, but is it possible to get this far in Animal Well without having the fucking map unlocked? And I like eventually just capitulated and went to a YouTube thing and went, where the fuck's the map? Like, just show me where the map is. and I just didn't know there was a button on my Steam Deck there. I had the map. I didn't realize there was a fucking like the back button that's on the Xbox. There's like a little one for the Steam, and I was like, oh, fucking idiot.
Yeah, I was gonna say because it's the touchpad on PS5, so I was wondering what they would map it to.
Fuck, no, I'm just a dumbass. But I can't believe that. See, and I'm in my head, I'm thinking like, oh, Animal Well, I bet it's almost impossible to like not get the map, probably. Whereas in Silent Hill 3, I feel like that's a thing in modern QA. They would have gotten that, but back then they were just like, I guess, yeah, fuck it.
It was painful, especially because you can't go back from the other world to the normal place without beating the other world. So I was just like, I was running around. I was looking for a bottle of fucking bleach, and I was just like running out of ammo.
In the game or like in real life?
In my house.
Playing this?
Yeah.
Fuck.
Yeah, that had pushed him over the edge. That was it.
Yeah, exactly. I had to go make mustard gas in my real house. But anyway, so Crow Country is.
You can boil some fat. You can make some.
I hear there's a good recipe for boiling
I know a
fat.
guy.
Yeah. But yeah, highly recommend Crow Country. I really enjoy. I played the entire thing the night it came out. So
Oh, cool.
Yeah.
How long is it?
it's I beat it in 5, but I left it running a few times, so probably like 4 to 5.
Dude, this is the sweet spot. Animal Well, Little Kitty, Big City,
INDIKA.
Crow Country, INDIKA. Can we talk about INDIKA for just a hot second?
Yeah.
Just a little second. So last week I'm sorry, are you done with Crow Country, do you think?
Yeah. That I
Okay.
just highly recommend it. If you like old survival horror, this is like it stands up there. I mean, I think it's so far it's better than Silent Hill 3, and I'm liking Silent Hill 3.
Hell yeah. Nice one. Crow Country available on. There's a demo also on Steam if you want to check that out. It's only $20 with 10% off. Would you believe it? Although that offer will have ended by the time this podcast is gone up. So fuck you, I guess. Pay the extra $2. Sorry, everyone. FOMO. Overwhelmingly positive on Steam as well with 1,000 reviews. Go support indie devs. SFB Games, who also made Tangle Tower and The Mermaid Mask, which are both games with beautiful little art styles. I quickly want to mention a couple of games I played which over the past week. I completed Minishoot Adventures that I talked about last week. Really, really enjoyed it. It's probably around that 6-hour mark as well. Nothing else to say. Kind of it ended the way I thought it did, and I beat the final boss, and now I'm basically going around doing all the stuff that I hadn't done before. Really enjoyed it. If they made another one of those games, I'd pick it up in an instant. Super cool. I finally beat, or didn't beat Balatro. I finally won a round of Balatro last week, so I'm very excited about that. Thank you.
Done.
I think it took me 16 hours of playing Balatro.
That's fine.
But I'm glad I'm not a card guy. You know what I mean? I'm not a card guy. You know.
Sorry.
So yeah, I don't know. I'm proud of myself because I eventually did it. I swear to God, my hands were fucking shaking during that final.
It gets so intense.
It's
Oh my
stressful,
God.
man. Yeah.
Yeah, I had to like sell a Joker to get rid of the last boss binds thing and all this sort of stuff. It was a nightmare. I loved INDIKA. Oh my God. INDIKA is great.
Nice.
What a fucking weird game. Absolutely loved it. I don't know anything about Russian Orthodox, what it's like growing up in that world, but as a Catholic, there was lots of stuff in there that I absolutely adored. I don't want to talk about it. It sounds like me and Jeremy are going to do a special podcast for this one, a patron exclusive one. Anyone else is also invited to come on, but there is a prerequisite for this podcast, which is, it's sort of in dubious federal legal territory, but we're going to enjoy INDIKA in all of the different ways you can do that, and talk about that game, and see how the discussion, maybe the discussion at the start is a little bit,
More coherent.
Coherent, yeah. And maybe by the end, it's less so. I don't know, but we're going to just sort of indulge in it. So that's the plan right now, is to do a Patreon exclusive podcast on INDIKA.
Funded by you,
on
folks.
INDIKA.
Thanks so much.
Yes, exactly. Thank you very much. You were complicit. 2 games I did play, though, that came out this week are, I'll quickly talk about the Braid Anniversary Edition. So this is a re-release of Braid, which came. Do we want to all guess when Braid came out and make us feel really old?
20. No.
10?
2008?
Yeah. 2009?
That feels right. 16, 17 years ago.
2008 was the one.
Oh,
Ding, ding,
damn.
ding.
Okay.
Nice work. This, of course, Braid started the video game documentary genre with
right.
Indie Game the movie, along with Fez and
Fez.
Super Meat Boy.
Yeah.
So this is a re-release of Braid. It has updated graphics, which are, you can flick between the two of them, which are definitely better, but it's not like a fucking it's not, that game already had like a crazy painterly weird style. It's actually very fun going between the two of them because you get to see sort of more the artistic changes that they decided to do rather than fidelity ones, which I think is actually very cool. It's also like a bunch of like cool animations, like I think his name is Tim, is it the character? Why do I still remember the character's name, Braid? Like now when he turns left and right, there is an animation of him turning around. It doesn't just like swap to left and right. The reason why I'm mentioning it though is because there is a bunch of new content in here. There's some new levels, but the lion's share of the new content, at least for me, has been in, I would say, probably the deepest and most technically rich developer commentary I have ever seen.
Oh, cool.
I think there's 15 hours of dev commentary in here, and to facilitate it, they had to basically build a sort of like a almost like backrooms sort of level thing where you could go around, and there's literally a room that has like, here's programming and design, and you go through a door, and then it's like, okay, we're in the programming commentary area, and you're in the level and you're triggering the commentary kind of like a, like a Valve game or whatever. But sometimes the stuff gets super technical, so a little picture-in-picture will pop up of like, oh, this is like the code that I was using, and it's John Blow. He also interviewed a bunch of other people who worked on the game, traveled to do it. I believe the actual recordings of these were so big that he's put it out as a podcast as well, which seems like at a certain point it's like you just need an editor for this. But the stuff that I've looked at is like, it's crazy. It's like I would say more than anything, this is aimed at actual developers. This is aimed at people who want to make games, not just fans of games. So sort of caveat emptor within that regard, I guess. But yeah, it's a fairly, it's wild. I've never seen dev commentary like this in a game before. It's very interesting. So yeah, I've just been like sort of listening to it. It is kind of a weird thing because like the dev commentary will go on for a couple of minutes and you're just like sort of jumping around the Braid level while you could just put it down almost on some of them, and then other ones the little picture-in-picture comes up and you can hit the right trigger and it'll go full screen as well. It'll kind of show you. So the design stuff I found very interesting. The programming stuff is too technical for me. And then there's loads of other bits like art and music and other stuff. So
Sweet.
Said I'd mention that. Braid Anniversary Edition. I think they launched on like practically everything. I got it on Steam.
Yeah, it's on iOS, Android too.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So it works on iPad. It's on Switch. It's on PlayStation 4 or 5, the whole shebang. So there you go.
We should get Soldier Boy back to share his thoughts on the anniversary edition.
Unfortunately, I do not believe John Blow traveled to talk to Soldier Boy.
Damn.
And it's interesting because like John Blow was a divisive figure back when Indie Game the movie came out.
Did he ever stop being a divisive figure? To be fair,
well, I think his the nature of his divisive figureness now is different to then. Right. It's more sort of the kind of aggressive political rantings. I don't know, shoutings that happen on social media. He's, by the looks of things, for the past couple of weeks, he's mostly just been talking about Braid Anniversary Edition, so that's a good thing. But it's a project that I really love. The original Braid, like the first started playing this, and I was just like, oh, it just feels so cozy. It's a silly game to replay in a way because so much of it is about figuring out logic puzzles that you pretty quickly can figure out again if you've already done them. But yeah, I don't know. It's such a special little game, especially in 2008. You just didn't get indie games like that. And it was really, really interesting. Jeremy, I saw you nodding there. Were you a fan of Braid?
I played it way back. I haven't played it like since it came out. But I like Braid. I think it's clever.
Yeah, clever ass game. There you go. I think it's clever.
That's clever.
Got it.
Put that on the box.
It's got puzzles.
It's clever. Yeah, it's got puzzles. You can check out our documentary on The Witness, which we did years and years ago, which said senior blow. I was gonna say, which sounds like
That sounds like the meanest thing you could call him.
It's like
going
a
on, Senior
cocaine
Blow.
Fucking, it's like a coke hole. You know, got to go
Yeah,
see
there you go.
Senior Blow. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
The other game that I was playing, so many games, is a game called Fabledom, which is Manor Lords, but it's in like the fucking nursery rhymes. That's it.
Oh, okay, cute.
It's Manor Lords.
Is it
but it's
anything
nursery
to
rhymes.
do with Fable, the series? Is it
No,
painfully
it is-
British?
It is no, it doesn't do the sort of. Thank Christ, it doesn't do the mid-Atlantic accent or the
Chicken
Renaissance
chaser.
Fair.
Yeah, what you
Exactly. Yeah, it's not doing any of that shit. It's a city building game. It uses a lot of the same mechanics as Manor Lords. I feel like I've played a lot of city building games, but maybe I'm completely ignorant to this whole like you build a building and then you assign families to it or people to like. Maybe that's something I'm just new to or whatever, but it's the same type of thing. You're doing a lot of resource gathering, like those games. You're doing a lot of drawing the roads, all that sort of stuff. There are positive and negative influences. You build the inn in a certain area, that's good. You build a coal burner in another area, it's not good. Honestly, for the first like 2 or 3 hours of this thing, it basically just felt like any other city building game. And then there is a layer of fantasy stuff to this. So you're gonna, fantastical creatures are gonna come into it. At the start, you decide whether or not you're a prince or a princess, and there are suitors. I've seen giant beanstalks. There's a lot of like sort of they're playing around and having fun with the
That's cute.
with the fantasy stuff, dragons, all that sort of stuff, big castles. I haven't gotten into any combat stuff. I don't know how much there is. I know there is like trolls and stuff like that, but yeah, I think it was in early access for a good while, and it's come out. It's currently 13. I gotta make sure this is available before it is. If you listen to this podcast, this coming Monday, there's 35% off, which is pretty good. So it's only $13.64 at the moment. It's usually $21, which honestly is a fucking steal for this game. But that's crazy that's how cheap it is. Yeah, I'm really enjoying it. It's become my nighttime relaxing game, Fabledom.
Nice.
Over on Steam.
Visually, it kind of reminds me of like an HD remaster of Black and White.
Oh,
Like
yeah,
I see
thought about
those
that.
troll characters, and I'm like, oh, they're gonna call me names. They're gonna sing songs or something.
Yeah, it's got a similar animation maybe with some of those
Yeah.
things as well. Cutesy, you spend a lot of your time sort of looking down, but you can zoom in there pretty deep. Yeah, I like the feel of the building. You know what I mean? So much of these games is that tactile juice of what it's like pathing out how big something is, how much land. I think Manor Lords is more of my style, but Manor Lords is quite early access. It kind of feels the more I've played it, I've been like, oh, this needs a little bit more time in the oven maybe. Whereas obviously Fabledom is 1.0, so less of that. But yeah, that's almost all the games we have to talk about. We have one left, which is perhaps the most important one. I have heard that Fire Pro Wrestling, back before Fire Pro Wrestling World came out, I had friends. I remember Brendan Sinclair at GameSpot, he used to be the news editor, was a huge Fire Pro fan. I know Gersman and a bunch of those folks were always talking about it as being like sort of like the secret best wrestling game, especially because of the amount of customization people did. There was like a hardcore group of fans who spent years and years upkeeping that game. Obviously, back in 2017, there was a re-release of it, Fire Pro Wrestling World, which sort of brought it to the masses, and I think sort of tried to retain a lot of that modding goodness that was part of it. Developed by, I think, my favorite named video game developer in the world. Every time I hear them, I'm like, fucking A. Spike Chunsoft Co. Limited. Spike Chunsoft Co. Limited. Absolutely love it. They're the only company in the world that has a full stop and a comma after their name on Steam, which is great. Fire Pro Wrestling World apparently also has a bunch of DLC. Well, actually, I knew that because they did quite a lot of it when it came out. But there is a Stardom DLC. Was this like, when did you find this out? And were you like just completely over the moon?
Yeah, so I remember like last time around the holidays when there was like a Steam sale, my friend Brian and like Cheap Ass Gamer, they tagged me in it. Like, oh yeah, Fire Pro Wrestling is on sale. Also, there's a Stardom DLC. But it was like the holidays where there was 6,000 games that just come out. And I'm like, okay, maybe later. And then I was in Texas and in some random used game store in New Braunfels, which is like 50 minutes outside of Austin. It's where the Buc-ee's is. There was just a used copy of this game, and it's like this random ass niche Japanese game in Texas. So I bought the physical, and then I looked, and yeah, the Stardom deal, all the DLC was on sale. So I got the Stardom DLC. Because yeah, I've been obsessed with Stardom for like a year, and this is the only official licensed Stardom stuff in a game. But even before the Stardom stuff, like, so I started playing Fire Pro Wrestling World, and there's a mission mode, which is the tutorial. And this is my friends warned me about this, is like, playing this game feels more like you're playing like a Japanese rhythm game, where the timing of doing wrestling moves is so precise that at first it seemed impossible. It was like, what the hell is this game? When you start, there's no UI. It is just kind of like isometric. It's not like pixel art, but it's almost like smoothed down pixel art, but the animation's very fluid. But if you look at screenshots, it just looks like it's like very chibi and simple. But when you see the game in motion, the animation's got weight, the sound effects are great. But when two wrestlers walk up, you immediately lock up, and you have like, if there's like a super tight timing to it of when you can input moves, and either you beat the AI or you don't, and you trade off moves. And throughout the wrestling match, you have to like breathe. There's a breathing button, so you have to manage your stamina, and wrestlers will start breathing. You hold L1 to breathe, which is like crazy. So the momentum of the matches is fun, but then yeah, I started doing the Stardom DLC, and the thing that I was blown away by is like they had all the Stardom girls do voice acting. So like you're just wrestling, and then you hear them call out their moves and stuff, and it's like it's so surreal and so funny because I've been watching this stuff for so long, and then just to see it represented authentically in the game, because I've done like downloaded WWE 2K games, and you can download the wrestlers, but it's all like, yeah, fan creations and modding, but they actually like scan their faces and stuff. So much so, there's a luchador wrestler I'm obsessed with named Starlight Kid in Stardom, and you can edit the wrestlers. And I was like, wait a minute, can you take off her mask? What happens if you take off Starlight Kid's mask? So I went in the editor and I took off her mask, and there's just the face parts that her masks were covered are just now see-through, so transparent, where it's like there's nothing behind. So they did
amazing.
They protected her identity. I was like, I thought we solved the mystery. But yeah, the roster of Fire Pro Wrestling, it's got all the Stardom girls, which again is funny because now Utami Hayashishida and Julia have left the company, but you can still play as them in this. So it's like,
cool.
It represents a very specific time. But even on the other side, it has all the New Japan people. So like Kenny Omega, who's now in AEW, and a bunch of other wrestlers, but they're all in this game. And it's like, I've played so many of the WWE games my entire life, so it's so cool to see a Japanese game that actually has all of the Japanese wrestlers. And yeah, I mean, the newest one came out, 2017, 2018. But there's also a DLC chapter written by Suda51.
Hold on. Amazing.
Yeah, so Suda51 originally directed and wrote one of the Fire Pro Wrestling games for Super Nintendo.
What?
And it's infamous because I think at the end of the one of the Fire Pro Wrestling games, the wrestler like kills himself. Like,
oh my gosh.
Like his career is a failure, so he dies.
It's like a Darren Aronofsky movie.
Yeah, and so now 20 years later, he's written a sequel where you're playing at his protege, and the opening starts that's like, look, America has ripped off every good Japanese gimmick we've had, which is true. That's what the NWO was, a stolen gimmick that WCW ripped off from Japan. So the start of the game, it's Suda51 wrote it as some wrestling coach. He's like, look, we used to be the best wrestling in the business. Now we got to bring it back, and it's up to you. So the story mode is you're this wrestler who has to like restore glory to Japanese wrestling, and it's like, it's really cool. Again, it's a completely random game, but I picked it up at a used game store in Texas, and I'm really shocked how good it is. How good it is.
Outstanding.
Yeah, and yeah.
Did you get isn't there 2 Stardom packs?
Yes, I got
You
them
got both?
Of course,
Great.
I got.
Of course.
Both.
They're like $20 each as well. It's
So
like,
they're on sale for like I would pay I'd pay thousands of yen for
Wow, $2.
If you're just listening to this, by the way, as this is a podcast, Frank is wearing a Stardom hat as he says all of this. I feel like
it has always
and has been for the past 5-6 weeks.
And a Stardom sweater, and the shirt is illustrated by a Stardom wrestler. So.
Oh my
he's
goodness!
swagged out at the Stardom sweater.
Yeah.
You got to start sending some invoices for this. All right.
Yeah, I want to be the American brand ambassador for Stardom. We need, I might go to AEW at the end of the month in Los Angeles because Mina Shirakawa is a Stardom wrestler, and they're starting to do like a cross promotion. So the fact that she might show up, I might buy a ticket for. So,
they should hire you. I feel like you
right?
would do really. Not only do you have experience in like community management and promotion stuff, but like I feel like you know more about Stardom than any other American boy.
Absolutely. The other huge thing too, I was interested in. So my favorite place in the world is Korakuen Hall in Japan, like the holy site for wrestling. In Fire Pro Wrestling, there's a venue called Urakin Hall. So it's
nice.
yeah, they didn't. So it's Korakuen Hall is in Fire Pro Wrestling.
Nice.
So, so it passes all the marks. It's very good.
Outstanding. Love to see it. Games old and new. That's pretty much everything, I think. Is there anything else on anyone's radar or anything you guys have been playing that you haven't gotten into, you haven't played enough of to bring it up or anything?
Still playing Hades 2 on Steam Deck.
Oh, yeah.
There's the fourth weapon you unlock basically turns the game into Vampire Survivors.
Oh, Christ.
It is.
That's
It
awesome.
is.
Is that
It's
the-
all like it's like you hit triangle and you shoot fireballs that spin around
Yeah.
you.
Oh,
So
funny.
it's like,
It's an AoE
so
weapon.
now it's basically a Vampire Survivor mode, and you still have to constantly do it, but like it's such a unique weapon, and so I really that has been my like. I got to the end of the third world, last boss, can't beat it, but I got to the third world using that weapon, so
Excellent. Okay.
that's my run.
Yeah, I still
Nice.
haven't beaten that second boss. I got INDIKA really took me for a ride. I was I was all like, man, that game, fucking weird ass game. Right at the end of it, I was like, my wife was like, "What the fuck are you playing?" Because she was like hearing it, but she was like playing something behind me. And then right at the end in the last scene, I was like, "Turn around, you gotta see something fucked up."
I still haven't
"Oh my
finished it.
God."
I have like an hour left in it. I'm psyched.
Oh, great.
Yeah, I gotta
Okay,
play the
yeah,
last little
yeah.
bit.
I'm still reeling from the first 20 minutes, so I'm not really.
Yeah, if you want, I swear to God, just go check out the quickest of quick looks is the first opening 20 minutes of that game. Which I don't want to spoil it. That game was not boring. Let me say that. That game was not a boring game. That was a very fucking weird, great game. There is also is there a mini documentary? I saw a couple of videos with the developers who were based in Russia, I guess, and left and are vehemently against the illegal invasion of Ukraine, and they put out a video about that as well, I guess, around that time. But that and the Thaumaturge, man, they're just those games, and also both of them are. Do you remember? Now I feel bad. Remember the lady at our podcast who was at PAX, who came up and said we should do a documentary on 11-bit studios. And I was like, oh, do a documentary on a publisher? Like, that seems like, now I get it. Because they put out both those games within like 2 months of each other, and they're both like very weird and very cool. So if she's listening, apologies. I have seen the light. 11-bit Studios doing good work. That's a podcast for this week, folks. The games again, we played Animal Whale, Little Kitty, Big City, Crow Country, Fabledom, Braid Anniversary Edition, Fire Pro Wrestling, and then a brief mentions of Minishoot Adventures, Balatro, INDIKA, and Fire. No, yeah, I already mentioned Fire Pro Wrestling. Dear Dwyery episode 2 is also up on the Dear Dwyery feed and available, of course, on the Noclip podcast channel as well, in which I interview Dave Oshray about New Blood Interactive and just a lot of chat about publishing and sort of how fucked things have been for indie devs and selling out and lots of really cool stuff. Dave was very candid about the business dealings of running New Blood and what it's like. Other stuff going on, of course, we have that quick look of INDIKA. Jane Dev episode 4, I think, is going up on Friday. It's basically in the can, so if it's not up now, it will be pretty soon after the podcast on the weekend. Maybe it goes up on the weekend, actually. We're hard at work on a bunch of other documentaries. Hyperlight episode 3 should be out maybe on Friday. Friday is the big question mark. Which one of those goes up? If it doesn't, it'll be early next week. We're, of course, working on documentaries on Dredge, the music and sound of Wipeout, and Dwarf Fortress as well, among a bunch of other stuff. Exciting as well on the tape side is I managed to get a new Betacam player, a deck. Cost a bit, but it didn't cost as much as I was worrying. There's one tape deck that is costing thousands. That's in the video I put up about the preservation project. I mentioned that it was Betacam tapes. I actually got that wrong. It was this other type. The Betacam player we had before was not really working. It was delivering a fucked up signal, and I could not fix it. Couldn't clean the heads on the thing properly. The Betacam thing is like huge, just like a massive thing. You got to unscrew so much shit to get in there and do it, and then I couldn't get it working. So the new one is super clean. It looks really good. So I'm getting some SDI converters coming so I can get the best signal out of that. But I tested it on S-Video, and I had two Betacam tapes that were sitting there. One was Konami's E3 Press Wall 2003, and on it had the Metal Gear Solid 3 trailer, the really long one.
Nice.
And it looks so fucking good, and I was like, oh my God. And it plays perfectly now, which is great because I also have that entire tape on VHS, and it's the one VHS that's broken that I've run through, and it's unfurled twice in VHS players. And I've been desperately trying to fix the tape, but I was like, if this one works, if this Betacam tape is the same thing, but in like actual, I think beta 480i, I think. It might be 720i, I'm not sure. No, it has to be higher than 480i. What's Betacam SP resolution? I'll look it up later. Is it 720? It looks like 720. Then the VHS is redundant, so that's kind of what it is. And then the other one was Konami 2005 E3 press wall, so it's just full of fucking trailers. And it seems like the Betacam tapes are mostly assets made by studios, which is very exciting because some of the tapes are not. A lot of the tapes are just gameplay recorded by some video game website that who knows, who could have any number of video game websites it could be. Don't put me on the spot. So yeah, exciting stuff. We're gonna have a lot more very cool older stuff going up. I feel like we had a lot of like sort of 2006, 7, 8, 9, 10 stuff going up, and now this stuff looks like it's going a good deal back to like 2002 through maybe earlier actually in that era. So that's really cool. That's a podcast, folks. Patreon.com/Noclip if you'd like to support our work. Jeremy, what are you doing for the rest of your week?
Working on this documentary, working on some game dev stuff, cooking up exciting things on both fronts.
Sick. Frank, what about yourself?
Legitimately still trying to find a therapist in Southern California, which seems impossible.
Dude, it's hard to find a good therapist.
Right? But I feel hopeful. But
And then you got to go on dates anyways. You got to find out if it's the right one for you, if you guys have the same interests.
Because if they got the insurance, if your insurance covers it, it doesn't. Yep. Just it doesn't. Never does.
That's what I'm leaning towards. But yeah, whatever. I'm still, the fact that I'm like, I also had the bike ride thought like, hey, looking for a therapist is so stressful. I'm gonna need a therapist. Hey, but I'm building up my set list. When I see a therapist, I got a whole
Woody Allen.
Yeah.
Good stuff. Jesse, what about yourself?
We're going to go see Hades Town tomorrow. First time seeing that musical. I'm excited for that. It's in Toronto.
Cliff Blazinski's Hades Town?
That's right. No, actually, Greg Kasavin's Hades Town. They've brought it back to the real... No, yeah. It's excited for that. Can't wait. I haven't listened to any of the music yet, so I'm excited to just be like... I've heard so many good things. And Lorelei and the Laser Eyes comes out tomorrow as well, as of recording this, so on Thursday.
What the fuck is that? Sounds like a
right?
band.
What is that? It's a new puzzle game from the studio, what are they called? Samogo, who did Sayonara Wild Hearts, Year Walk, a couple other things. It has been getting rave reviews. It looks like you mentioned Suda51, Frank. It looks like a Suda51 game. It looks like that like Killer 7 era style of game. So I'm very, very excited for that one. I can't wait to play that. I'm sure I'll talk about it on the pod next week, among other things.
It looks like some grasshopper manufacturer ass bullshit. It's made by Samogo. Yeah, okay. Nice. That's man. Just fucking.
It's too many games.
It's too many games, man. So many games. I have a feeling this is the pre-Keeley rush. This is just, we're getting a bit of pre-Keeley here. the first drips of pre-Keeley.
Jesus. Keep that one to himself.
Hey, man. It's all about the releases. You know what I mean?
World premiere.
Yeah, I don't know. I have a feeling we're getting a bounty of them here, so don't panic, folks. I think it usually does get a little bit slower in the summertime.
Yeah, people are getting their releases out of the way ahead of the announcement of Dante's Inferno Remastered.
Oh my god, is that a real thing?
I don't know.
Did you? I mean,
so-
people are literally getting their edited because all that Assassin's Creed shit came out today as well, right?
Yeah, that's right. Yeah.
Yeah. Frank,
I was gonna say there's so many boobs in Dante's Inferno, so if that gets announced, I'm there.
There's going to be
I think
some
Dante's
pre-Keeley
Inferno
for
might
sure
have had-
if that gets announced.
like, yeah, there is a certain there is a certain thirsty side of video games, a lot of whom are angry at Stellar Blade, who if Dante's Inferno came out would demand. Do you remember all the weird stuff they did when
Yeah.
they were promoting
Yeah.
that game?
Oh, yeah.
the like
were they the
fake
ones who, like,
outrage people.
Did they sacrifice a goat as well? There was a lot of like booth baby stuff going on, but I
Yeah.
think they might have sacrificed a goat at
SABA,
or, like,
at
had
SABA
it-
Live Poultry.
At SABA Live Poultry, yes.
You know what? Yeah, maybe the line has shifted. That is one thing that's very weird about a lot of these tapes is going back and seeing promotional stuff from E3s of past, and the objectification of women in this industry was completely insane. Like, just like absolutely, like, it's not even, it was the amount of it, I think, is it was so commonplace that if you didn't have booth babes, like, it was like, why didn't you have them? Like, it's so strange. There's been a couple of videos of going back, and we've had a bunch of the videos go up as well, where it's just like, man, this is, and especially the ones in Tokyo, actually, weirdly enough. Like, there's a couple of tapes with TGS stuff in it, and you're like, man, this is, it's, and I even remember at the time thinking this was weird.
Yeah.
Like tuning in from Ireland and being like, why? Like it's weird when it's cars, and it's weird when it's like, I don't know, what else is a design, like watches, I don't know, whatever. This whole thing used to be so much more, but especially in video game, it just seems like complete. Like, why is this? Is this all because some marketing person saw Lara Croft get popular, and now this is, we've had to deal with 15 fucking years of this? I don't know. Anyway, who knows? I'll dig into tapes for some more of that good stuff. That's it. That's a podcast. Patreon.com/Noclip. Thanks for listening, and we'll see you next week. Bye.